Welcome back to Satisfactory. I do apologize for the delay in this episode, but I have been building, and part of me hates the fact that I've been building this much off camera. But then again, what I have been building off camera is mostly the stuff that I have already built, and what we're going to do in this episode is handle power, because power suddenly became an issue and I have multiple projects ongoing. So currently all of our trains are standing still because if I connect the trains, our power network just says bye. So yes, the trains spend more than 2,400 megawatts of power currently. But that of course also includes the outposts that I have built, that I hope that we get the opportunity to tour in this episode. But this episode might involve a bit of pausing, going back and forth, but I hope not. First of all, we need to go to the Sulfur outpost. I have done a little bit of extending things here. You can see that these belts are now Mark 5, and I have 16 more machines here making compacted coal, which also means that this poor Mark II miner is running at 250% clock speed and is now using a whooping 52 megawatts of power all by itself. One thing that I was quite happy with was the fact that the coal node that is connected up to this also happened to be pure, which saved me a major little headache, because yes, that one is also overclocked at 250%. Now, one of the things that I have to do, and I probably will pause the recording while I do that, is get the compacted coal from here and out to our next destination. But let's go out there first. Getting the coal out there should not be that much of a problem. I will belt it out there. I'm not a big fan of using trains inside of the base area. And getting a train out to the refinery would be tedious. That's an understatement. I would have to go back around and then come up on the edge of the world, and yeah, I think a belt is simpler here, or I would have to build some insane contraption going above the mesa canyon cliff thingies around us here, and I don't think I want to do that either. But getting a belt down there, I will have to have a bit of fun with the pipeline there, but other than that, yeah. Now, as you can see in the distance there, the refinery has been expanded slightly. A little bit. Just minor expansion. Now, also the autosaves are starting to take a while. This is part of what I didn't want to record, because pacing down all these refineries, I've spent a few hours on that, going back and forth between the base, getting the resources. Also, I need to reach out and give Wally a huge thank you for helping me with some of the maths involved in this. But that side of the refinery, we are going to ignore that for now, completely. So I'll just leave it there. And of course, update 3.5 is coming, which will probably ruin everything and make me have to redo a large part of this, but I'm not really that worried about that, because the other part of this, which is what we're going to be focusing on in this episode, is the there might be some reshuffling there as well, but that is the crucial part. So these generators or refineries used to make fuel. They are now making the alternate heavy oil residue recipe. I have 10 of them, which means that the pipeline is currently not supporting the output, since a pipeline can only contain 300 cubic meters of flow rate per minute. So I'm going to have to do something about that pipeline, splice it or something, but I haven't really bothered with that. The polymer resin that is being made in there, I am putting this into this awesome sink. We need quite a bit of points, as you can see. We're at 62% and we still need 738,000 points, so... Then I did build a hypertube going around here. That was kind of crucial, because I was running back so much back and forth. Now, the pipelines, those have been changed slightly. So I made them pretty. At least I think they're pretty. Your mileage may vary. And I have 5 of these now. One of those come from the outpost. And I have a train station over there, which drops off oil. Now, I do hope that this specific pipeline here that I'm following now, which is the one that I'm going to connect up to all of this, is coming from the old oil wells. The ones that I have down here. And I'm very certain that they are, because I believe the 2 outermost pipes are the ones that are coming from the train station. I also redid the entire pipe network down here, so everything looks much more structured, and yes indeed. So this one is coming from the oil pumps that we have out here. There's not much to see, except for the fact that the pipelines are now straight, and I have a foundation on every 6 steps. So, but I'm quite happy with the result of this. There is one thing that I want to show though. That is a little neat trick that I found to get a pipeline junction when you have a height distance of just 1 and you can't use the vertical mode. So that is, I've done that over here because this pipe is joined by 2 normal nodes running at 125%. I could overclock them to 250 and then get a full pipe from that, but I haven't really bothered. So here is my little splice technique. What I did was I built this junction up there. Let's see, that's my pipe toolbar. And then I took a pipeline support and I turned it the correct way and I placed it down. Now it's put there, and I bent it down. You can do this with your mouse wheel. So I did that underneath that crossing there, so that it would not be here, but it would be underneath the junction. Then I built the pipe down, and I attached the junction there, and I did the same thing over here. I just took a pipeline support. I don't think I'm allowed to build one that close. And I bent it down, built a pipe down, and then attached the junction. And then I built this pipe here. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. So from here on out, it's basically the same thing, except for the fact that it looks a bit more neat. Okay, then we have all of the foundations up there, and the refineries that we need to take a look at. There is a specific mod that I want to feature in this episode, which have saved my hand and wrist probably a couple of thousand mouse clicks. It is called Smart Foundations. Oh. And that is a very, very handy mod indeed. I can demonstrate it here. So you place the foundation, and let's say that I want to have the beam in the glass going that way. The way that I see that is where that flat side with a white square or box is. Now I can hold down Shift and I can turn the mouse wheel. For some reason this wants to go backwards. So I'm turning the mouse wheel downwards and you get several foundations. Now I can hold down Alt and again turn the mouse wheel either direction. As you can see, it increases the cost. You can see if I now press H, it holds the foundations in place. You can see it says 324 concrete is required to place down this foundation grid. I'm going to demonstrate how it actually looks when we get upstairs, because I need to place down more foundations up there for more of the generators. But yeah, it is definitely a very, very, very beneficial mod to use to avoid major repetitive clicking. I hope that this is a feature that they will add into the game at some point, because it's just way too convenient when you're building something like this. I've lost count of how many refineries I have here. I think I have somewhere above 300 refineries, and that requires a great deal of foundations, to put it mildly. Let's remove this and build a foundation there. And now let's place down a foundation. I think we'll want to have a grid of 3 by 3, and this just looks amazing. The space elevator animation is cool, but this is just bizarre. Imagine when you're doing that with 4 times as many foundations. It's quite the cloud of smoke. Now let's finish this little part here. 3 and there. Sorry. Ah, that didn't quite go as planned. Note that you can place foundations within one another with this mod, so you need to be a bit diligent about that, because you can see now I'm actually placing foundations within one another. There's also the ability to tilt the foundations by holding down T. If you hold down U, you can make steps of the foundations. And if you hold down R, yeah, then you can rotate them. So you have many options with this. The one thing that I miss that I hope the developer will add is the ability to build vertically. Because that's one of the things that I just decided that I'm not going to do that anymore. Building pillars for the railroads, that just took so much time and so many clicks that I decided no. So that looks good. As you can see, it looks fairly cool. But that's the mod showcased. I probably built too far there. No, actually I didn't. I missed 2. Let's place those down just so that they're done. There. Okay, now this setup here, I cannot connect all of it to the power at once, because if I do, everything will just shut down and bye-bye, and I will be struggling greatly. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove 2 of these refineries that are working on the heavy oil. I don't need all of them. I actually don't need... I think I need less than 8 as well, but I need to fix the pipes there. Okay, now the chain here is... First of all, you have these refineries. That's the first part of the chain. They are making the heavy oil residue. The second part of the chain is the alternate recipe for diluted packaged fuel. And you can see that this requires 30 cubic meters of heavy oil residue and 60 packaged water per minute. Now, water, we have that. I built that underneath, and I'm very happy that I built the base in all this refinery so that I can just fit in the water extractors underneath. That was good planning on my my side. And these water extractors 2 of them are paired up, and 2 of them are paired up, and then we have a 5th one which is not paired up. 4 of them here are running at 125% clock speed, while this final one is running at 150% clock speed. And that gives us 680 cubic meters of water per minute, which I believe is... No, we actually need 780. So I need to deal with that. No, wait, it is 780. What am I on? So 180 from these, and 300 from those, and 300 from those. That makes 780. So I have enough water extractors. I don't need to fix it after all. The water is being taken up in 3 locations with a pump on each of them. And keep in mind that when you build pumps, the pumps will pump up 20 meters, but there is also a built-in, what do they call it? Head lift. So each of the extractors, whether they are oil or water extractor, they have a head lift of 10 meters. So you can just use the foundations to approximately measure where you want them. Keep in mind that the extractor output is not at base, so it's probably like 2 meters up there. So I might have been able to put the pipes a little bit higher up. Oh, it's a container here. The thing there is, one foundation is 4 meters high. So if I place a foundation there, you can see that I am approximately at 10 meters, but the pump probably starts here. I'm not sure where the pump starts inside of the fluid. So yeah, that's how we get the water, and I'm going to show you the pipe work for that as well. We just need to get back up there. I have a handy walkway in here, as I showed earlier. I should make more of these walkways, because yeah, there is so much area. This area is just ginormous. So these are making diluted packaged fuel. They're getting the heavy oil residue, and they're getting the packaged water. Well, they are getting the heavy oil residue as soon as I connect the pipe in there, because I haven't done that yet. But I'm not going to connect up all of them. I think we will be satisfied by connecting up these 5. Even that probably is too much. But these will give us the diluted packaged fuel, which then needs to be unpackaged into fuel. This ratio is thankfully very simple. It's a 1:1 ratio, so it's 60 canisters gives you 60 fluid and 60 empty canisters. Then at the other side here we have the packaged water. These are the refineries that get the water from underneath the refinery, or the entire refinery area we're in. They also need empty canisters, which I've put in here. I've just filled up a box of empty canisters. This is, I think, 2,400 of them. So, no, it might be more than that. It doesn't matter. So you can see the water is coming up here from the lone extractor, and it's going into 3 of them. And each of them require 60, which means that I'm actually underproduced. No, I'm not. 180. So 60, 120, 180. And then I have 5 connected together on this pipe. And that one goes down there to the next pair. And that is 300. 6 times 5 is 30, so 300. And then I have 5 more. And the autosave, of course. So these need the empty canisters, and they need to be funneled by belt over to the diluted fuel refineries. or diluted packaged fuel, of which I have powered up 5. So I think I will power up 5 of those as well. These are Mark II power poles because I want to connect them at both sides. Let's go 1, 2, and 3. And let's just keep our... No, this is the wrong tool belt. Let's keep our fingers crossed that our power does not say toodaloo. Of course, nothing will happen yet because I am not doing anything. These are now in idle mode. Well, that should be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I need to take into account the first 3 as well, but I'm not going to bother doing that. The full line of belts, splitters, and mergers on this. So what we want to do now is go down here and make sure that this pipe is connected to that pipe. As you can see, I've changed the pipelines here as well. So 3 of them are going in there, but that is for the part of the refinery that we are ignoring. And the final pipe here goes in there and is now connected up to the other part there instead of using a dedicated pipe for just, I think it was 60. Didn't make sense. The first pipeline still has some crude oil left in reserve, actually. Okay, now these should be making heavy oil residue. Something happening here? I guess we need... Yeah, this one is started. This one has started. This one has started. So we need to wait for the fluid to be pushed into the machines. But 8 of these are now producing the heavy oil residue, which is what we need. And the polymer is, of course, going into the sink there, which means that the heavy oil residue will come here eventually. So let's move on to the packaged water. I believe that is this row. This is the input section, and this is the output section. So this is the input section for these. Now we want these to be appropriately far away, and I am using a manifold here, so this might actually bug out. But I don't think it will be an issue. The sheer amount of fuel generators this is going to support in the end is ludicrous, so... But I suspect I might need it. I think I'll put these at height 4. Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. But I will ignore these first 3 for the time being. And no, I can't. I need to go up to the correct height on all of them. And this might be a bit repetitive, but this episode is a bit weird in terms of what I've done in front of the episode, because there are so many maths involved that it gets a bit involuted. I believe that was 5. Yes, it was. 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to connect the full line, but I don't think that's a good time right now. We want this to be 1, 2 away, and then go up to height 4. And we need to go to belt 5, which is where I have the Mark V belts. And this one, I'm not going to connect up this thing yet, but here's the empty canisters. So let's just start connecting these. Not there. actually have to connect the entire circle because this is supposed to be a cycle thing. So you'll have to bear with me as I do all of these. Then again, I guess this can be kind of soothing. I know it is soothing for me to do it, so hopefully it's kind of soothing to watch as well. And there are 13 of each of these refinery chains currently, except for the last one, which we'll get around to eventually. I need to place down glass foundations here. Do I need... that one needs to be that way. I also need the glass foundation here. Come on. And this one, I think I want to go... Yeah, I still want that to go that way. So this is packaged water. And this is unpackaged fuel. This is where the chain comes into the picture, because these need to... it needs to go a full circle. So these require... No, it's not this one. Wait, hold on. Never mind me. This one should go that way. And then that one should go... Nah. I think I'll just have these go that way as well, and then we'll turn it here. That one is wrong. I think the diluted part is what requires the packaged water, and indeed it is. That's why I have to go the full circle here. We want this stackable conveyor pole to be on... Yeah, that should work. I'll put it on this angle here. Can I get a snap line? Thank you. 1, 2. 3 and 4. And then we need the splitter here as well. And I need the materials here back, because otherwise I'll have to go back to the base and pick up things, and I'd rather not have to do that unless it is really, really necessary. There we go. And yeah, no, I don't think we'll get time for a tour of the outposts in this specific episode. I can already see that we're nearing a half an hour, so yeah, that's not very likely. I'm not even sure I'm going to be done with this within this episode, unless I pause things like this. Which actually might be a good idea. You've seen what I'm doing here. I'm going to connect this in a full circle around through the container. So I'll just pause the recording while I do that, actually, and I shall return when I've finished that circle and we move on to the next step. And here we go. This even confused me, so I'm glad I did pause, because otherwise I would have spent a lot of minutes wasted. So these take the empty canisters in through the input side here. And I'm going to populate the entire belt very soon. And it also takes in water from down there. And eventually it outputs a packaged water on another belt that we are going to have to build here on the output side. This one does not require a pipeline, so that's good, I suppose. So I have the full circle coming, because these machines that unpackage the fuel outputs the empty canisters again. So when everything is up and running, the empty canisters will just be flowing through this at a very impressive rate of speed, and everything will just be recycled. So you don't need more empty canisters than what is actually needed in the buffers. And I think I'm exceeding that, but I'd rather just be having more than too little, because having too little would be not too nice. Let's connect and populate. There is a buffer here of 100. That is 1300 that is being buffered here, which is a lot. Now, some of these are now producing the packaged water, as you can see. So the packaged water, we want that to be on. Let me just check my supplies. Yeah, I'm going to need more iron plates and iron rods. I might have some in a chest over here. Otherwise, I'll have to whoomp back to base before I continue. I don't remember what I put in that chest. It's a kind of a temporary building materials chest, but I think it has very little supplies. Yeah, no, this should actually be enough for the time being, so that's good. I need to remember to refill that chest or even move it somewhere more logical. Okay, so now the packaged water, I'm going to have that one up. You can see I have the splitters already placed here, and that was by mistake. I tried to take the empty canisters down here, which would have been a huge mistake. But these take packaged water. Now we want to run the packaged water in the same loop style. So I'll just start placing down the... I swear my game is cursed today. I keep getting the output the wrong way. So these require mergers. I think we need to go 3 away. Yep. And these we're going to have on height 5, so we'll have 6 of these for each. And again, I will finish this circle and make sure that I might have aligned the previous one wrong. Might have aligned it to the middle of the machine. Yes, I did. So yeah, keep in mind that you need to see the not that fat line, but the thinner line, which is, I guess it's the same thickness, but you need to see the one that is up in the air, not the one that is down on the floor. That is very important when placing these. I'm sure most of you are aware of this by now, but it's still useful as a reminder, because I even keep doing that fairly often, actually. I think we might have some clipping on this level, but I just can't be... Well, maybe not. Yeah, well, it's going to clip through. It is. And again, I do it on the wrong location. Why do I keep doing that on the wrong location? Well, I will pause the game while I do this. Pause the recording while I do this, and I will be back with you when I have the circle completed. And here we are. I have now connected up the inputs of all of these refineries to this belt, which I haven't completed the loop of because I wanted to do that on camera. So that is on height 5. Whereas the empty canisters are on height 4. We then connect up these, and yes, there is a little bit of clipping. So if you want to avoid the clipping, if you do a similar setup, you can go to level 6, I mean, instead of level 5, and there will not be any clipping. Note that I'm using Mark 1 lifts because they are producing 60 per minute, so it's not really a big concern. As you can see, those empty canisters are moving at a ferocious speed. And yeah, I definitely have more than I need in this container. But that is good. Well, I haven't started up everything yet, so Who knows? So now we are getting water into these refineries. And here I have powered up the first 5 of them, it would seem. These are making diluted packaged fuel. And that one is quite handy because this one takes diluted packaged fuel. So this one is really simple to work with. All you got to do is place them front to back, and I don't know what height we want to go on here. Well, I'm not going to be driving through there, that's for sure. So you can just place them at that height and make a conveyor belt going, and the diluted packaged fuel will now be taken over to this, where it will be unpackaged and then turned into fuel and empty canisters. That is when these are powered up, of course. And I seem to have powered up different ones for some reason. I'm not sure why I did that. I should remedy that. Let me see here. Actually, I can just power up. So the first 3, I believe. Yeah, the first 3. So everything from here. I need to power up this one, and this one, and I should check the power grid. Okay, so we're idling at around 1000, which is good. And here again, you can just use Mark 1 lifts because the output is 60, so it's fine using the Mark 1. It saves you some high-end materials. Of course, if you're just carrying the high-end materials on you, feel free to use whatever lift or belt speed you want to, of course. Now I see that I'm running out of iron plates. I'm going to have to go back to base, that's for sure. And these 2 also need to be connected. Connect the rest up later. There we go. Now we are making fuel, which is being sent down into... Now that was why, of course. So I'm having it in 2 pipelines now, which is not ideal at all. Because there is, of course, restrictions on how much you can run in a pipeline. So I should have powered up the first one. Well, this one is just making packaged water, actually, so that's not a big problem. But I think I have to power up these. The ones that are not powered up, or the ones that are not using their products, won't be a big issue because they're going to stop anyways. So there's going to be a slight deficit of packaged water on the belt right now. But I think that's not a big concern. Yeah, so the next step of the process, now that there's fuel down in these pipes, we should look at the first pipe here, which is connected to 3 of these refineries. And then there's a pairing of 5 and a pairing of 5, because 13, and 5 of these produce 300. So this pipe runs here. Then we have the bend going here, and then it continues there. Now I'm not sure. Yeah, that's why I did that, because that one is going to connect to those, and this pipe is going to connect to these. Right, so that's how it was. Well, I do have plenty of copper, or copper sheets, so I can run this pipeline. And these are making turbo fuel. And this is where the compacted coal comes into the picture, because I'm not going to be making any turbo fuel until I get the compacted coal out here. I'm a bit puzzled to the amount of refineries that I've made here. This seems slightly wrong. It is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whereas the other ones are 8, 9, 10. How does that add up? I believe I'm underusing, because it's using 22.5. So it is sufficient for 13. Have I done a baddie here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 on this one. So that's right. I'm wondering if I put down 10 on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so I didn't do a bad thing. What I did do, however, is that the pipe is wrong. And that's going to be a bit problematic. I'm going to have to change the pipes here, because the first 3 are actually the ones that are going to go to the refineries here that are making turbo fuel. So, yeah. This was just a placeholder that I was using for the bend here. But we have 2 loops, and those loops are working as intended. Of course, we don't have 600 of the... I mean, we don't have 780 of the containers running on the belt, I think. Actually, there should be. Let me go and have a look at that container. Did I place a wrong belt somewhere? Because it should actually... that belt should be saturated. Oh, that's why it's not saturated. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to put more containers in here. It's not saturated because it hasn't output all of its stuff yet. But what I think that we will do is the same that I did with the aluminium refinery. I think we'll split this into 2 episodes. So I'll release this one as the first episode, and in the next episode we will, after I have fixed the pipelines and got the compacted coal in here, we will continue with the turbo fuel and then getting our power up, and hopefully we'll also get time for a tour of the base, because I can connect up the rest of this while I am doing things off camera. Now, as I mentioned, this is a fairly complex setup. Going through the numbers on this, showing this as a proper tutorial it's really hard, because it is such an involuted process that it basically turned my brain into mush at some point. But to try to explain in as simple terms as possible before we end the episode, you need heavy oil residue. And 1 pipeline of crude oil is sufficient for 10 of these refineries, which will give you 400 heavy oil residue. So that means you need to make a secondary pipe and splice that on somewhere. Thankfully, I have plenty of room to do that, because the pipeline is going down here, and then it's going down here. I might have to adjust the what are they called? The quarter pipe foundations, and just replace them with glass. I have that in some locations because the quarter pipes just doesn't fit properly. Where can I show that I have that? Yeah, here. Here we have, well, I do have quarter pipes there, but quarter pipe here as well. But this is a good example. No, it is not a good example. What the heck? No, I don't have that anywhere here. But I do use it in the hallways, if you can call them that, underneath here. Some of the hallways don't have quarter pipes at all. They're just straight lines without any quarter pipes on the sides, like here. Haven't placed any quarter pipes here, but that's for a later episode. So I can just do that, remove the quarter pipes here and replace them with just regular glass foundations. That will, in this specific instance, for the heavy oil here, it will make the pipes go aligned to the crude oil pipes that are going in here, but that's not a big concern. So that's the first thing you need. And then you need water. Water for the diluted packaged fuel. Or rather, that's where it gets complicated. You need the heavy oil residue for the diluted packaged fuel, which is an alternate recipe, one of the best ones in the game, by the way. And then you need the water to go into the refineries where you package them. And to package them, you also need empty canisters. But empty canisters are pretty simple to make. You can just... What I did is very, very simple. I can show that later on. And then in the next step, you need to make sure that the empty canisters is going in a loop so that the unpackaged fuel, which is coming later on here, that the empty canisters are always being reused on the belt. So when you have the packaged water and you have the heavy oil residue, those are being funneled into the refineries which are using the diluted packaged fuel recipe. Now, that's a very simple and basic recipe, and the manifold doesn't seem to be a problem here, so that's good. Now that you just funnel directly over to an unpackaged fuel refinery, which is a basic recipe. I think that these are remnants from before the pipe update. That was update 3, was the major pipe update. It's interesting to see what pipeline update 3.5 will add. I suspect at least higher throughput pipes, which will make this a little bit easier. And the teasers have also shown that we're going to get package facilities instead of having to use these huge refineries just to package things and unpackage things. So that would be nice. Anyways, that's the next step of this. Now when you've got that, you'll have the empty canisters going back out on the belt, so you need to make a loop here again that is going back into here. And that loop is of course going yeah, this is the output, so it's outputting empty canisters. So that's the empty canister loop on level 4, which is sending empty canisters into the packaged water and getting empty canisters from the unpackaged fuel. And then that also produces fuel, which is then sent into the pipelines. And finally, that fuel is combined with compacted coal to make turbo fuel. And why do we want to make turbo fuel? Well, turbo fuel, by the way, there's 2 recipes for turbo fuel. I'll show the other one as well. This one. This one is using heavy oil residue and compacted coal. This one is using fuel and compacted coal. This one is, it says, a more efficient alternative to fuel. It is not. It is, well, the turbo heavy fuel is a more efficient alternative to fuel. That is correct, but this recipe is not more effective at all. If you want if you are lacking for power, I suppose it is an okay recipe to use as an intermediate until you can go for this recipe using all of the other ones. Or if you lack this recipe, or if you lack the diluted packaged fuel recipe, then this one is good then. But when you have the diluted packaged fuel and this recipe is very, very, very much superior. And I hope that wasn't the power running out. It didn't sound like the power was running out. It just sounded like the refinery shutting down. This isn't connected. So with the setup that I've made here, which is a total of 13 plus 13, which is 26, plus 8, which is 34, I am making, in the end, 639.2 turbo fuel. With 639.2 turbo fuel, I'm going to be able to run 142 fuel generators. And that is kind of ridiculous, but it's power and I need power, and this is far more efficient than just using basic fuel for the power. What I could do currently, if I was very concerned about the power grid, is that I could have used the unpackaged fuel and just sent that directly into the generators there, and I would have enough power, but I want to complete this turbo fuel step instead. Now, the final thing about the turbo fuel here is that a fuel generator running at 100% clock speed will burn 15 fuel per minute, because 1 unit of fuel is worth 600 megajoule per cubic meter. And you have the liquid biofuel, which is not a recipe that you want to use because it requires having to manually go slaughter the landscape and trees and so forth. So that's better used for other sources. But that's at 750 megajoules, so that will be burnt at 5 seconds per unit, which makes for 12 cubic meters of fluid per minute. And then you have the turbo fuel, which is worth 2,000 megajoules per cubic meters, which gives a burn time per second of 13.33, or 333, which then ends up in one generator burning 4.5 cubic meters of fluid per minute instead of 15 for the basic fuel. So this is a superior recipe for the generators by far. Now, the final thing that I wanted to show, I just need to orient myself because this is slightly confusing. There are so many refineries here that it's just basically a huge mass of refineries. So the final thing that I wanted to show is the empty canisters setup, which is basic, to put it mildly. I still have it running, so even though the containers are full. What I did was simply just using a splitter over here, and then I split off plastic. I'm not using that in the main base anyways. So the plastic is going down and then into 2 constructors, and those are using 30 plastic each to make 60 empty canisters. And I just built 4 of these industrial storage containers in succession with a belt in between. And they are of course all full now. So when I don't need more canisters, I'll just remove this. So yeah, that's part 1 of how to set up a turbo fuel generator system. Now, if you do have questions or comments, or if you want to complain bitterly about the fact that I did all of this off camera, please feel free to do so in the comment section, or you can also join us in the Discord server. You will find the link to that in the description. For now, I hope that you enjoyed this episode, even though it was a bit confusing. Certainly I felt it was confusing myself, which is probably not the best offset, but I hope that it made some kind of sense. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will be seeing you all in part 2 and the next episode.